These files were never meant to be public, but someone reopened them. This is the Dark Bureau. A near-silent keystroke in a nondescript Brussels workspace is all it takes to trigger a global surge of outrage by morning. Social media catches fire, angry posts circulate at scale, micro-influencers and hundreds of eager accounts amplify obscure blogs and hashtags until news cycles in multiple countries appear hijacked. But dig deeper and this tempest is hollow. There are no grassroots organisers, no visible protest planning, no genuine friction. Across anonymous co-working spaces from Singapore to Zurich, campaign plans are executed with clinical discipline, drawing no attention from real activists chasing shadows. All eyes search for a puppet master, yet nobody sees the machinery for rent beneath these outbreaks. Contrary to popular belief, brute force hacks or dramatic data breaches aren't the main threat in modern political influence. In the last 5 years alone, at least 20 major national elections and referendums have been shaped or diverted not by intelligence agencies, but by the hands of PR consultancies operating as private businesses. These firms collect their marching orders from law firms or intermediaries, then vanish behind shell companies and polished websites. What they leave is something more consequential: the fracture of trust and clarity in democratic debate, engineered not by overt attack, but systematic digital manipulation. The architecture behind this industry is vast and agile, built to alter whole national discourses. Rather than partisan operatives, their operators are paid copywriters, user experience experts, and data analysts with deep knowledge of behavioural economics and social media automation. The goal isn't a one-time stunt. They build networks of manufactured consent. Some script student protest posts. Others engineer dashboards to detect emotional triggers, while teams feed local testimonials to media outlets. Each step is anonymised, each role segmented. AI-powered bots, nearly indistinguishable from people, amplify every message, intensify division, and drown out real commentary. Any group that can pay retools genuine grievances, buries truths, or fabricates movements with agile, relentless efficiency. One template reveals the playbook: a multinational eyes an iron mine in Argentina, expecting protests and regulatory resistance. Instead of overt lobbying, the firm hires a London PR agency through offshore cutouts. In a week, digital networks promoting student anger, concerned mothers, and supposed healthcare workers blanket online channels with bespoke complaints. Anonymous writers push stories into small digital news outlets, which, hungry for content, repeat them uncritically. Suddenly, agencies stall or reverse regulation, interpreting the uproar as genuine. Once the goal is secured, these activists disappear. Digital ghosts, untraceable by any official record. European and South American compliance audits in recent years have documented the scale. Single campaigns costing over $4 million masked as community outreach. Spreadsheets reveal sprawling subcontracts. Israeli reputation agencies, Southeast Asian content farms, and AI licenses, providing vernacular social persona generators. Technical investigations have traced core toolkits, AI persona engines, rotating VPNs, automated dashboards, resold to political actors, companies and ministries worldwide. What emerges is a highly adaptable, fully privatised apparatus answerable only to monthly invoices, not public accountability. These operations are modular. One group sculpts the public media narrative, another scripts opposition, a third saturates private social spaces. The international supply chain is seamless. Data analytics may run through Asia, social listening through Europe, escalation via encrypted chat rooms. Payments are funneled through advertising budgets and staff contracts. If investigators come close, operators dissolve, change names and restart in new jurisdictions within weeks. Money is the engine. Contractors receive not just large one-off fees, but long-term retainers, giving them critical leverage over events. Pushing a policy shift or burying a scandal can mean hundreds of millions for a client. For buyers, the formula is simple. Buying ambient influence is safer than enduring regulatory scrutiny or hostile headlines. Performance isn't measured in votes, but in shifts on opinion graphs. The speed a narrative vanishes, and the resilience of these engineered stories against exposure. Unlike classic lobbying, where meetings and disclosures leave a paper trail, these influence machines are invisible. They exploit legal grey areas. A campaign legal in one city is routed via shell companies and processed through different jurisdictions, washing contracts to erase origins. The workflow is always split. Data teams target vulnerable audiences, persona builders craft fake locals, media places inject stories into eager or compromised newsrooms. The effect is so smooth and persistent that journalists and platform moderators cannot detect the difference between orchestrated bursts and genuine grassroots momentum. Regulatory pressure comes in waves, triggered by leaks or the persistence of digital forensic investigators connecting odd payment traces. In 2022, an EU task force revealed that independent local news blogs in the Balkans traced back not to local actors, but to a Panama shell firm, registered months before, dissolved after the campaign, leaving only a virtual mail drop and denied interviews. Attempts to prosecute or regulate these fronts routinely hit legal barriers, NDAs, privacy claims, attorney-client protection, and data residency rules. Each public inquiry is answered by lawyers. We only place content that would circulate anyway, all within the law. Actions that look like bribery or election meddling, fabricating news, forging activism, and shaping state outcomes are recast as strategic communication. True criminal prosecution is rare, since the intent appears informational. Watchdogs and auditors consistently hit dead ends as each step up the chain leads to another shell or confidentiality clause, stopping oversight cold. Independent investigations and UN panels have mapped this ecosystem and named the reality. Over 40 cross-border syndicates, based in at least 13 countries, offer on-demand digital influence kits. A single digital forensic study found 6,000 plus planted news stories and coordinated social accounts tied to just a handful of copywriting agencies. Advertising reputation repair. That is, in fact, global opinion manipulation. The same AI language models and content rotation tools are customized and resold, not just to autocratic governments, but to major parties and corporations in leading democracies, always tuned for local context. What was once destabilization is now a service. Market rates, subscription plans, and ever faster deployments across borders. The technology rapidly escalates. Where once campaigns relied on hundreds of paid sock puppet freelancers managing accounts, today AI engines, trained on real conversation patterns and news context, drive the operation. PR firms under contract can now task AI with dispatching millions of posts weekly, each customised and adaptive to the latest news, able to rebut journalists and counter-rival disinformation automatically. Swarms of synthetic responders jump on breaking stories, pivot talking points, and overwhelm moderation even as rival agencies bring their own bots online. The contest isn't between real movements, but dueling AI architectures that crowd out organic debate. At this scale, the distinction between real and artificial consensus blurs. Social bots operate faster than moderation can catch, shaping the very process by which society makes decisions. Platform investigators and regulators scramble to trace old campaigns, while new operations surface with new signatures and fresh playbooks. The objective isn't just to trick the public with fakes, but to destabilise the entire civic process of forming collective judgment. These tactics don't respect borders, politics, or ideology. In Latin America, the machinery dissipates activist momentum before protests can even begin. In Eastern Europe, it floods the digital space with synthetic endorsements and false flag campaigns. Across Africa, candidates quietly contract agencies to create international support networks. In Western democracies, it's subtler but entrenched. Fact-checkers are overwhelmed. Journalists are manipulated by seemingly credible sources, and undecided voters are nudged by invisible social waves. Subscription tiers are common. Clients lock in recurring fees for crisis response influence campaigns that deploy instantly to shape news and perception. Major elections and policy crises are not only matters of local politics now, but by the aggressiveness and availability of these covert PR machines. Counteractions lag. Parliaments set hearings, governments propose bot bans and disclosure rules. But the industry simply adapts, acquiring dormant news domains to add legitimacy, nesting outreach in private chat groups, leveraging university networks for technical cover. Enforcement is fragmented and outdated, split between countries and hobbled by vague statutes and limited reach. Internal compliance teams, even when well-intentioned, can't see past offshore contracts and encrypted communications. For the public, only the symptoms are visible: a trending hashtag, viral outrage, a suspiciously synchronized leak. The real decisions, timing, agenda, message, happen before even journalists can investigate. When a scandal erupts, firms simply rotate playbooks and rebrand. Quietly, the business of manufactured consensus now outpaces lobbying and advertising for growth and profits. For clients, shaping democracy is less about public ideas, more about who pays for influence and how quickly a digital consensus can be assembled on demand. Recent analysis shows the cost. Nearly every consequential election in major economies now leaves the fingerprints of this system, if only partial. Bot storms, dubious grassroots coalitions, and subtle network effects that recalibrate news and polling. What remains is chronic uncertainty. Is a public consensus real, or just the residue of a 5-week, 7-figure online maneuver? Where conviction and consensus were once the bedrock of democracy, today they are commodities in an open marketplace, blurred by algorithms, sold to the highest bidder. What's at stake is trust, legitimacy, and the basic frameworks of transparency and electoral fairness. Voters face a patched reality where feelings and facts, even antagonistic movements, may be engineered. Journalists can't cut through the manipulated noise. Law and oversight lag behind, constrained by borders and technical complexity. Watchdogs warn of measurable consequences: declining faith in democratic process, spikes in polarization, and growing contestation of results, all fueled by synthetic digital agitation. Some governments strike back, bot disclosure laws, fines, algorithmic detection. But the responses are piecemeal, always a step behind the agile, well-resourced industry. Attempts to regulate are met with innovation, loopholes, and shifts in digital territory. Now society lives amid continuous uncertainty. Every trend, poll, or evening news debate could well be another line in an accounts ledger, outcome of secret strategies outside the democratic open. With truth itself up for sale, the fate of public will is inseparable from algorithms and contracts engineered to evade scrutiny. In this new era, the foundations of democracy are no longer guaranteed. They're rented, traded, and always up for renegotiation, hidden in plain sight the moment scrutiny approaches.